Hi everybody, welcome to Santa's Workshop. We're coming on just a couple minutes early so we can test that mic, which I do all the time, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. If you can hear me, if you would give us a thumbs up, let us know that yes, the sound is good. Hopefully everything will work out just fine for us this evening. And I'm going to just go through a couple things before we get started this evening. You are watching us here on Facebook Live. This whole event will be recorded and you'll still be able to see it on Facebook, but you'll also be able to see it on our website page. Our website is sewingbasket.biz, B as in business, I, Z as in zebra.
It says it needs to be louder.
It needs to be louder. Okay, I'm going to come down a little bit lower and see if that's better. I've got everything else set pretty loud, and that should hopefully be a little bit better.
Got a thumbs up.
You can also turn
Oh,
up
no,
the volume
see, no.
on your computers. Down in the bottom right corner, there's usually a little speaker. You can click on that, and there's a slider for volume control.
They're saying they can't hear.
Okay, hang on one second. You're all watching me stretch here.
Otherwise, we can just put it, clip us on, and we'll swap it.
Yep. I'm gonna just... Okay, now that I did that stretch for you on screen. One second here. Okay, now let's see if that's a little bit better, if you can hear me better. Gotta give it a minute yet. I'm going to talk for just a second. So sewingbasket.biz is our website. And now I'm hearing feedback. Everybody can hear us okay? Hopefully. They're still not hearing us.
No, they haven't replied yet.
Okay. All right.
No
still waiting to
difference.
see.
They're still just
Nope.
watching you put your mic on.
Oh, okay, yes, there's a time delay here, so hopefully that'll be fine. But everything that we're recording here today, this evening, will be on our website tomorrow at sewingbasket.biz, B-I-Z, and a page called Santa. Right across the top, there's a menu, Daily Dose, Santa, screening. They're still saying they can't hear me.
Can you turn your unit loud? But I'm getting thumbs ups too. So.
Yeah, okay, hang on, I'm gonna try one thing. Cheryl, on the back of the camera, slide on the black bar box here, slide right below,
This one?
nope, that's all the way there. Top slider, right there, slide that over one, and we'll see if that is any better. And we've got, I'm gonna come around just one second.
This is
And
why
I'm
we're
gonna just
testing.
keep talking and try one thing here. This is,
They're starting to say they can hear okay now.
okay. So hopefully I didn't change anything. We should be good. Channel 2, channel 2. Okay, and mix, I'm gonna leave that.
Somebody else can't hear.
I know.
Okay, yes, it's a little bit crazy. All right, we're gonna do our best. I'm gonna talk loud. We have the mic on. It's the best that we can do right now. We have a issue with delay. When we're talking, you're about a minute and a half behind us. So hopefully at this point you can hear me. And again, everything that we're recording this evening, including all of this sound check stuff, will be on the website tomorrow morning.
What do you think?
Maybe, are they still saying they can't hear me?
Yeah.
Should we just try to unplug it and see if we're close enough to the camera? To the.
We can try, unplug the bottom plug.
Well, I'm gonna go do dishes. Can't hear.
Somebody said they went out and came back in and then they could hear it better.
Okay.
I can hear
Could
you.
be. I'm gonna just talk right now. This is with just the camera mic. It's gonna take a minute or two to see if you're able to hear me on this. That might work out better for us. I'm gonna hold this little yellow piece of paper here, so you'll be able to see when I'm now talking. When you see that yellow piece of paper, if you can hear, say, yes, I can hear. That will help us figure this out. I don't know why we're having such a problem. The mic worked great for months and months, and it's just not working for us right now. Hopefully you can hear me with the mic on the phone. Nope, they're not hearing me.
Well,
50-50.
50-50. Okay, first off, all go to your computers and turn up the volume. Also, under the Facebook window, there's also a volume control
getting better.
there. So try to turn your computer up and your Facebook up, and I'm gonna shout. We don't have a problem with Cheryl's voice, but I always have trouble. So I'm gonna do my best to shout at you this evening, and we'll go from there. I'm gonna set this down. So what we're doing this evening is Santa's Workshop. Cheryl's gonna give you a bit of an introduction on that. And everything, as I said, tomorrow morning will be on sewingbasket.biz on the Santa page. Right at the top will be this video. Just below that, there is a link that says, for you this evening, there's a link that says print out the list of everything that we're talking about tonight. So that is there if you want to hit print and follow along, or grab a piece of notebook paper and make some notes. Every single thing that we talk about this evening is in the web store. If you go to the shopping page, everything is in there. We have a category called Santa's Workshop. All the pictures of everything that we're talking about is there, so you can either see it tonight or you can see it tomorrow. At the end, I'm going to go through just a couple details on the project, but we're going to go ahead and get started today, or this evening, and we'll get Cheryl talking where you can hear her well, and I'll practice my shouting voice.
Hi, good evening everyone, and welcome to our 2020 Santa's Workshop event. Every year we pick a theme for our workshop, and this year we decided on Snuggle In. It's been a rough year, as we all know, and it looks like it could last a little bit longer, so we're going to try to add some positive spins for to this whole situation, with some things we're going to be doing after the holidays and for during the holiday period. So our Snuggle In pattern is our little house, cottage, cabin. So this is going to be the free pattern that you will be able to download after tonight's event. And along with that pattern, so that'll be like this, okay, it's a little 2-page pattern, just showing you how to make the roof section and how to make your little porch section and your house. So you'll, just for watching us this evening, you'll be able to download this pattern for free. To go along with that theme, we decided to include a lot of the log cabin, different items that can help you make log cabins. Last year I did the 2020 project, which was 20 different blocks. Each one had 20 pieces, and we did video support for each block. There's a lot of you that participated in that program. It happened to kick off last March, and it was a real good thing for us that when we were stuck at home to do. So we're going to continue that, but this year's theme is going to be the log cabin block and all the different variations that go with it. It's not going to start until after the first of the year, but if it's something that you're interested or you think you might want to do, some of the products I'm going to be talking about tonight are going to support that program. So if you put them on your wish list, you'll be ready to go right after the first of the year for the program. So we're going to get into those products right now. And drop the camera.
It just slid right out of the case. There we go. Get back in there. Okay,
We're good?
we're good.
Hopefully everybody can still hear me.
Sorry, this is the kind of day that I've been having. It's not Cheryl's fault, it's mine.
So there's a lot of different ways to make log cabin blocks. And with this series that I'm planning, we're going to be starting out with the basic strip piecing methods and continuous piecing methods. But then I've been playing around with some of the rulers that are available to help you with the log cabin block. The first set I'm going to talk about is the Block Lock series of rulers. A lot of you are familiar with the Block Locks from their half square triangle and flying geese units. The one negative side on the Block Lock was always that you had to have a different ruler for every different size block you were working with. The beauty of the log cabin rulers is they're all these little 6-inch rulers, and it doesn't matter what size block you make, you just slide the ruler down to do your trimming. And there's actually 4 rulers in the series. I only have 3 of them here. But you can start out with this tiny ruler where on this edge, you're going to be making 1/4-inch logs on your log cabin. And you're going to be able to make teeny tiny little log cabins. And the fun part is it's just as easy to make a little bitty tiny one like this as it is to make the bigger ones. So each ruler will do 2 different size log cabins. So this one does the 1/4 inch and the 3/8 inch. The next one does the 1/2 inch and the 1 inch. And the next one does 3/4 inch and 1.5 inch. And then there's one more ruler that was out of stock I don't have in. It's the 2 inch and 3 inch. So those measurements are the width of your logs. So this is kind of the entire little group. So 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and 1.5 inch. So again, the same process over and over. You can go from this size to this size, and it really isn't any harder. So that's the first set of rulers, or one of the sets of rulers that will be involved in my log cabin series. With the series, you will never be required to buy anything. I am just going to show you the different methods for getting different products that might make it
easier for you.
easier for you. Thank you. The second set of rulers that I'll be discussing as we go through it are the ones by the Creative Grid Company. So these give you more markings to follow along with your log cabin. The nice thing is your markings are a little bit clearer. The negative part of these is that you need a different ruler for every different finish size block you want. So again, each product has its bonus, each product has its negative, and we'll be going through all those different things during the class. We're also going to be talking about the Curvy Log Cabins, which is when one side is, say, 1 inch, and then the opposite side has to be half the width. So you can do 1 inch and 1/2 inch, or 3/4 inch and 1.5 inch, and those give you the Curvy Log Cabins. One of the variations of the log cabin is going to be the pineapple block. So instead of your cabins going around your square straight, with the pineapple block you're actually going to be going around the square, cutting off the corners. So it makes a little bit different look to it. And again, we're going to have the block lock series of that ruler. And we're going to be showing the Creative Grids style of that ruler. So 2 different rulers. We're also going to be going into maybe some paper piecing or different other methods that are going to be involved with the log cabin. So I'm thinking the series is probably going to be 12 to 15 different blocks and variations on that log cabin quilt. Again, we're going to offer it as just a free sew along. And we'll be showing you different products that might help you with those blocks. To go along with when you're making blocks, we've come across a new rotating cutting mat, and this is a mat that has, and it comes in a set of 2, the 6 inch and the 12 inch, sorry. They come with a base that has bearings in there, so it spins really easily. And then you just set this on top of there. So as you're squaring up your blocks, You just set them on here and you can turn it rather than having to flip your block around. The one nice thing is from the center, you're going over in each direction, your measurements, so you can set your block right in the middle of it and know that you're squaring it up perfectly to the right size. The bigger one, you can go up to a 12-inch block right on the mat, because you're 6 inches from center this way and 6 inches from center this way. So it gives you that 12 or 12.5-inch block, which is really convenient. They also come with an acrylic base that goes underneath it to help stabilize it, so when you're spinning it, it stays very secure. So that's the rotating cutting mat set. We also have a log cabin book, and this one is designed by Penny Herron, and it works with the Creative Grids log cabin. So it's a book that supports those Creative Grid rulers. So, and a lot of you already have some of the Creative Grid rulers, and if you know the way they work and the way that they make their rulers and like them, that may be the better series for you versus the block lock. Those of you who have the block lock rulers and really like those and understand how they work, you may be more inclined to look at that series of rulers. But this is a book that's going to support the Creative Grid rulers. Everyone knows that I am always preaching that everybody needs to have a block reference book in their library. There's several different ones out there, but every quilter should have one, because you just never know when you need a little filler block and you don't have a pattern that's exact for what you need. So this is one of my favorites. It's a quick and easy block tool, and when you open it up, it's going to show you all the different blocks that are in this book. And then once you pick your block, it is going to give you the rotary cutting for multiple sizes of that same block. So for this block here, you can make it in either a finished 3-inch, 6-inch, 9-inch, 12-inch, or 15-inch. So different blocks have different finished sizes that you can make them in. But it's really important for everybody to have some sort of a reference book. Okay, this is my little favorite so far. One of the new ones that they're coming out with, unfortunately, they're not coming until the end of this month. But this is going to be a deck of cards. So it's a box. It's going to be like a cube, a 4-inch cube. And in there is going to be 50 different cards, each one showing you the quilt block on one side and then the different rotary cutting measurements on the other side. So it's kind of like dealing yourself a deck of cards for making a different quilt project. It's also a great way just to practice different techniques. You can just make 1 block or 2 blocks. You don't have to always be making a full project. One of the things I did with my house pattern is this center window block is a 4-inch finished block. So you could go through any of your reference items and find something that has the instructions for a 4-inch finished block, and you could set that piece block as your window. So I picked this little star and made the 4-inch size and set it into the window of the house. The other thing is the outside measurement, the window plus the house sides, finishes to 6.5. So again, with your reference books, you can find any block that finishes to 6, and it can just be the entire house area of your block. Okay, so there's some different things you can do with these blocks other than just placing a solid piece of fabric in the middle. And again, it's a great way to practice a technique. If it turns out, you can put it in your house. If it doesn't, you can put it in your garbage can. This is one of our $9.99, $10 books that we have, and we have the whole series. This one we decided to make a bunch of the projects, 3 of the projects out of the book. This is one of the things that you may not want to put it on Santa's list, but you may want to purchase it ahead of time so you can make the gifts for people in your life. 3 of the projects that we made out of the book. The first one is just this cute little knapsack kind of tote. It went together real easy, and we just have some, I think, batting in there. But it went together real quick and easy. It's the perfect little carry-all for your kids, a little lunch bag. You could even put a fusible vinyl on the inside if you wanted it to be a lunch bag and not have to worry about keeping it clean on the inside. So that's one of the projects in here. The second one is a needle caddy. So this would go over the arm of either a chair or a couch. You can keep your stick pins and needles in there. And then it's got pockets on both sides to keep different tools that you want handy. You can also keep it next to your sewing machine if you want to keep some of your favorite tools in there. And the third project we made out of it is this little tote. And again, it was real simple to make. This one I actually used fabric flare. There you go. Which is a very stiff interfacing. And I have a little sample of it in here because I wanted to see how stiff it would be. I also made one with regular fusible batting, and I made one with soft and stable interfacing. So we have those samples here if you want to see the different stiffness that each different interfacing is going to give you. So these are just 3 projects that are in this little book. There's a total of 25, but they're really kind of great quick gifts that you can make at home for gifts for people. The next thing I have is this Carryall Tote that is great for taking the classes, taking the retreats. You can fit so much stuff in this tote bag. Oops. And I am just going to start going through some of the pockets in here, pulling out some of the different items that we're continuing with. So the first one is the tote. And then one of the coordinates to this, it's called the Tote Trivet, okay? And it's flat right now, and it's got a zipper in the middle. And in my zipper, I have different products in there. What it's really meant for is either next to your sewing machine, or especially if you're at a class and you don't want to get your items mixed up with your friend's items, you bring it flat to the class, and once you get there, you're just going to snap these corners. So it's going to make a little tray that you can keep right next to your sewing machine. If I can snap it. Okay. So there's my little tray to keep all my stuff at my place with not rolling off the table or somebody else picking it up. So one of the things I have in here, again, these are some of my favorite tools that I have at home. It's this little curved awl. I don't know if you want to have Elaine bring it a little closer. But it's an awl that's got a little bend at the end. And I keep it next to my sewing machine. And when I need to I can't get my finger underneath there to help something, feed it into the feed dogs, or just to hold something in place at the end. Because it's curved, I don't have to have my hand getting in front of my foot. I can keep my hand off to the side, and that little point is going to help me ease things in under the foot of my machine. So that's the curved awl. One of my other favorite products that a lot of people don't know about, a lot of our regulars already have one, it is this little viewer. And what it does is when you look through it, it's kind of similar to looking through a peephole in a door. Somebody can be standing right in front of the door, but when you look through the peephole, it kind of pushes them away so that you can see who it is. This is going to do the same thing to your quilt. If your quilt is laying right on your table and you can get a better perspective if you're further away but you have no way to move back, if you look through this little thing down at your table, it's going to push your quilt away so you can really get a feel for the value and the look of the quilt as you're piecing it before you sew it all together. So this is the little viewer. The next thing I have is this fabric folding pen. And what this is, it's a pen and you can open it up, okay? And you're gonna add water into there, about 2/3 of the way full. And then it comes with a little bottle of a conditioner. And it's a conditioner that helps the fibers of the fabric relax. You put about 5 drops of this into your little tube on your pen. So this lasts a long time. And what it does, I'm just going to grab a piece of fabric that I got out of here. If you're at a class or a place where you can't get to the iron real easily, or there's a lot of people there and there's always a backup at the iron, or you're just at your sewing place and every once in a while you have to make something where you just got to sew one seam and open it up and then sew another seam, you're doing one block at a time. If you take this pen and you use the tip along the edge of the seam or right on top the seam that you just sewed, it's going to soften those fibers and help that seam turn much easier so you can just finger press it. So you're just going to take this and you squeeze it just a little bit and you're just going to run it along the seam. Okay, so you can try to pick a brown fabric so you can see it. And then when I take it, it's just going to turn real easily on right where that thread was. If you have your little press and roll that we love these in the shop, you can actually just use that to roll a little bit better crease on the edge, and you can do most of your pressing right at your machine. You don't have to constantly keep getting up and running over to the ironing board. The other thing is, at some point if you do iron this block, that conditioner in there is really going to help set that seam so that it stays perfect every time. Okay, so that is the fabric folding pen and the press and roll right inside my little tote. One of the other things I have in here is going to be the hot press ruler. This is one for if you need to turn over. Actually, let me grab my fabric again. I have a pattern that's calling for me to iron over my edge, say an inch. So on tote pegs and purses and things like that a lot of times. And you're trying to eyeball how much that inch is, or that ½ inch, or that ¼ inch. The way this works is I like to take my edge and I'm going to lay it right on the line. So right now I'm on the ½ inch line. And I take it and I'll iron it a little bit so it kind of helps it to stick to it. And then I can pick it up, fold it under, and it sticks a little bit once you iron it. And then make sure that it stayed where I want it, and now I can iron it again. So this little ruler is like a felt ruler, so it won't burn, it won't affect your iron at all. And you can iron that fabric and have a measurement underneath it. So that's the hot press ruler.
Also great for hemming pants. It works wonderfully for that.
Which I don't do. The next thing I have is the numbered pins. So these are pins that have numbers, 1 through 10 on one side, and then 11 through 20 on the other side. And so they're great for keeping once you lay your blocks out in a row, so as you sew them together, you don't get them out of order, or for putting a pin on each row, so again, as you sew your rows together, you keep them in the right order. I had a project one time that was using letters instead of numbers, and I was trying to use my numbered pins, but then I would get to like G, and I would have to count on my finger to see what number was G. So I ended up taking the pins, a couple of them, and I just wrote a letter on the back of them, so they can kind of work for either way. That was side one. Now we're going to go to side two. So this side had one great big pocket for your long rulers, books, different things like that. On this side, we got a bunch of smaller pockets. So in this one, it's kind of a long tube. If you're going to an embroidery class, you could put a roll of Stabilize in there. I have my can of Grippy in there. You could put some sort of a pressing tool, anything that's kind of long, odd shaped. This we've talked about before, but just in case you don't have it, everybody needs a can of this at home too. It's called the Grippy Spray. And what it does is it puts a super light coating of a little bit of a tack on the back of your rulers. So when you're using your rulers, they don't slip around. You know, there's nothing worse than holding your ruler and cutting and that ruler starts to twist. So the Grippy Spray is gonna help your rulers stick to your fabric. So as you're cutting, it's not moving. I have two rulers here. These are the Quilt in a Day rulers. So this one is without the Grippy Spray. You can see it's clear. And this one, after you put the Grippy Spray on, it gets a little cloudy, but you can still read all your lines. And that cloudiness is just acting as a little bit of a grip. There's a lot of rulers now that are coming out that either have that grip on them, so that's what the light yellow is on here, or with the Creative Grids, they've built in these grip strips. These are great products if you don't have a ruler that already has it, or a different size or a different shape. But if you have a ruler at home that's one of your favorite rulers, it's one of the older ones, or you have some of these specialty rulers. You know, this is a Dresden plate ruler, there's the companion triangle rulers, all these different rulers that are just flat. So your Grippy Spray on any of those specialty rulers that you don't necessarily want to have to buy them all brand new because you only use them once or twice a year, but you still want to have that stability. This is really great for working with any of those older rulers that you have at home. When it comes to rulers, my favorite go-to ruler that I will search high and low for in my sewing room is going to be this, the Quick Cut Ruler by Creative Grids. And what I like about it the most is it just fits your hand. You know, 6-inch rulers, they're nice for doing small things, squaring up, but they're kind of big, you know, and I don't even have small hands, but if you have small hands, it can be hard to hold it. This one, it just is a nice size for the palm of your hand, still gives you that 12.5 inch in length, which is a very common size for blocks, and it has all your built-in grips to it, okay? There's other things that this ruler does too, and that may be a demo on a totally different day just about this ruler, but this is going to be my go-to ruler for trimming up small things. When I'm squaring up a block and I need to go to my right and across the top, my go-to rulers tend to be the Quilter Select rulers with this grippy on it. When I'm squaring them up, I feel that this one gives me the best grip. It's even a little better than the grippy. This is great for a ruler you already have, but if you're buying a new one, I would really suggest to go with the Quilter Select with the grip already on it. So those are two of my favorite rulers that I just have at home and I'm using all the time. One of the last things I have, this is new. It's a little rotary cutting case. Comes in either pink or green. And when you open it up, it's got a net on one side and a little band on the other. Find my block rulers on there. Just to keep for when you're traveling with your rotary blade. What I found is the other one. No, they're right on top of me. Yep. Okay. These little lock block rulers, that you lose them all the time because they're so tiny. It's like it can be, you know, the fabric can cover it up and they disappear. So what I did was I kept losing them around the shop, so I finally grabbed one of these, and they fit perfectly in this little case. So you always know where your rulers are if you put them away when you're done. That's the key to it, putting them away when you're done. But I just found that because they're 6 inches, they fit perfectly in this little case, so it can be rotary cutter on one side, lock block rulers on the other. And then inside this one, I have one of our little stash and stow. So these are great for next year's sewing machine, all those little tools that again can get lost or buried under things. So you could keep your favorite little tool in there. I can keep, especially this, because you want to keep it standing up. You don't want to lay it down or it can, you know, that tip will stay wet all the time. But you can just have all these things, your favorite little scissors or whatever, just handy right by your sewing machine. They come in 2 sizes. So there's the large and the mini, and we carry them in these 3 colors, the lime, the navy, and the purple. So those are the 3 sizes that we stock them in at the shop. All right. I think that's all I have to present this evening. Elaine will be coming around to do some things that she's going to show you. Thanks a lot for joining us this evening for my portion of it. I hope that I was able to show you some things that are new or different or just intriguing to you.
Okay, and I'm going to step in for a minute. I'm going to try to talk real loud. Some of you are having trouble hearing a little bit. Everybody else seems to be fine. Be sure to check your volume in the Facebook window and also bottom right of your computer. That will really help get the volume up. The other thing I want to talk about for just a second, we're going through a lot of products. A number of you signed on after we started. There is a list on our sewingbasket.biz is our website, our Santa page. If you click on Santa at the top of our website, you'll open that page. What you'll find on that page is a list, hard copy list of the things we've talked about this evening. The next thing you'll see is a link to purchase any of them on the store. They're all in our web store. There's a category in the web store that says Santa's Workshop. And then also back on the Santa page, tomorrow morning, this video will be there for you to watch again, so you can see that. And then further down the page, there are a couple links that we're going to talk about at the end on how you can fill out your wish list to get that list to go to your family members along with a discount coupon for them. I'll go through that at the very end. But those are the things, and they're all on the Santa page. They will be there if you missed them a little earlier. They're there for the next week at least. And I'll get going with my stuff now. Cheryl mentioned that she does a lot of piecing and rotary cutting and piecing. I tend to do more applique and embroidery. I'm going to talk about a number of tools that work for any project, but I'm going to show you a few of my favorite tools as well. All right. First off, the Sewing Basket coffee mug. Very important when you start sewing in the morning. Fill it with your favorite beverage. It's a great mug. It sounds silly, but the size and shape is really nice. I gave one to my brother. It's his favorite coffee cup out of anything, and not just because it has our name on it, but really likes the way it keeps coffee nice and warm. So I like to use it next to my sewing machine with all of my tools in it. Works great for that. The next thing is for the embroiderers out there. This is brand new from Floriani. You have all those stabilizer rolls that are moving around on your workspace. Do I put them in a drawer? Do I put them in a box? What do I do with them? This is actually a rack that hangs on the wall. There are two pieces. It's made out of wood. It's kind of a white textured finish. And it's got these little bars that come out with grooves in them. So it actually holds 15 rolls of stabilizer in a real small space on your wall. and I would say small rolls, you could even stack a couple more on top if you've got a lot of stabilizer rolls. This is a new product from Floriani, and it's really, really a nice rack. They are also making a thread rack. We won't be getting those until after Christmas, but it's in the same type of wood, and it holds 60 spools. So we'll be showing you we'll be showing those when we get them. That will be after the first of the year, so they won't be Santa's wish list items. All right, and I'm gonna work down my list here. The next thing I'm gonna talk about is Vanish Thread. Sounds silly, but this thread washes away. It works great for a lot of things. When I looked up on the website for their description, they gave us one really good tip. Do not sew together a swimming suit with washaway thread. I'll let you figure out why. It seems somewhat obvious, but the thread actually washes away. Why would you use that? You would use it when you want to mark something, make a basting line, you want to baste something together and you don't have to pick it out later. It'll actually, I can just mist it with water, or when I wash my Quilter project, it just comes out. So it's great for basting, and it's great for marking things. And comes in 2 different sizes, the big spool, the small spool. It also is, those of you who are embroiderers, if you do Hoop Sisters projects, it's the thread that they use for all of their embroider block projects. So that is Vanish Thread. I'm going to show you, can you cutting that?
Oh, I forgot to take it out.
Quilter Select. Okay, here in Cheryl's lovely
Which I forgot.
tote bag, the nice thing about it is it actually holds an 18 by 24 inch cutting mat. So it's really nice for taking to class. This is not on our wish list. It's a wonderful product, but they're tough for us to ship. So we don't have these on the website. We have them in the store. One side is dark gray, the other side is light gray. So it works really nice when you're trying to cut different fabrics. It's easier to see what you're doing. So I'm going to show you an instance when you would use that washaway thread. On a block like this, and I did not do my this outer border of navy blue is where I would use the washaway thread. What that's marking is the edge of my block where I'm going to sew this together to another piece. If I use colored thread, when I put my 2 pieces together and sew them, if I'm not right on my stitch line, you actually see those layers of the other thread, and it looks messy. You kind of go back and say, oh, I'll take a little tighter seam. If you use washaway thread to hold it together initially, all of that will come out, so you don't have to do that. This ruler works really well with the washaway thread. This is called the Trimmer by George by Hoop Sisters. They are great if you do quilt as you go or if you do embroidery. What they do is allow you to trim away the batting. So if this is a quilt as you go block, say this is a pieced block, and I stitch around the whole outside with my Vanish thread to mark the size of my block, now I want to peel away this batting. I don't want that in my seam allowance. I want everything nice and flat. So what this ruler does is it allows me to pull up the top layer, leaving the batting exposed, and this ruler has a lip on it. And what I do is I push that lip right up to the stitch line and fold it back. And what that does is my batting is out here, but all my fabric is protected. And then I'm going to take my 60-inch rotary cutter and I'm going to cut right across here. And what that does is the batting is now not in my seam allowance. So when I sew my blocks together, it gets rid of all that bulk. So this is a wonderful tool. It started as an embroidery tool. I use it all the time. I love to do my quilts, quilt as you go. And this is a great way to get that batting out of those seams. And that's the Trimmer by George ruler. Couple other things on the list. Quilter Select, love this cutter. It is ambidextrous, left-handed or right-handed, really easy to use. It is a little bit heavier. When we first used this, when we first picked it up, I was like, oh, it's kind of heavy. Well, the joy of that is, especially our ladies who are a little shorter. It gives them a little extra weight in the cutter. I was worried it was going to be too heavy. They said they can cut so much easier with the way that this is balanced. The weight pushes towards the blade, and they really love cutting with this. We use this all the time at the shop. And the cool thing is they just came out with the 60 size. This is the 45 millimeter. They just came out with the 60. The 60 is what works with the Trimmer by George ruler. I saw a little earlier somebody put in a note that they were brand new and hoped that they could do Cheryl's project with as a beginner. She does a great job teaching all the hows and whys, so it will work well for a beginner. Reason I mention that is a lot of times a beginner doesn't have a starter set. You don't have a mat, a ruler, a rotary cutter, or maybe you're just starting and you say, I don't have a sewing room, I don't have a lot of space. Or what if I don't like this? I buy all these tools and all this stuff and then I don't like it. This allows you to start with a ruler, a mat, and a cutter at, I believe it's $49.99. So it gets you everything you need. If you end up loving quilting, you're going to want a bigger mat and a couple different rulers, but you can add that later. And these you can always use to take to class. You can always use a second small mat. And if you decide you don't like it, it was an investment, but not a huge investment. So this is a great starter set. Also, if you're more of a crafter, you're just getting into quilting, but this works great for a lot of craft projects. It's a nice size for a lot of the purses and totes that we work on. All right. Next thing I'm going to talk about is, Cheryl talked about her favorite tools. This little baby is one of mine. This is the little mini iron. I like a couple things about this. One, it's really, really light. It's easy to grab. I don't have a big tip of my iron when I'm trying to press something small. It heats up super fast. It heats up and it's already hot within about 30 seconds of plugging it in. And it gets hot enough that it works on all my fusibles. Fusible batting, fusible fleece, any of the fusible products I'm going to talk about a little bit later. It's great on those, and it works wonderful for applique. When you've got smaller pieces, it's really nice to have a little bit smaller iron. When you get stuck here, thank you. When you work with the iron, when you do work with fusibles, and even when you don't mean to, a lot of times you can get your iron gunky. These are iron clean sheets. They're little individual sheets that you use to clean your iron. They get any type of fusible, or we'll call it schmutz, that you get on your iron, they'll clean them right off. So the iron clean sheets are really a nice thing to have in your sewing room. There is another product that I used for years. That's a tube that you squeeze and you gotta get a towel and a rag. I use that once in a while, but I love the iron clean sheets. It's very, very rare that something won't come off. And while we're talking about pressing, those of you who know me know that one of my favorite tools is an iron. Proper pressing, to me, really gives a nice finished look to your quilts, to your bags, anything that you're making. The better it's pressed, the more finished it looks. Finished meaning it looks like you really worked to get it the way you want it to get. It doesn't look like you stopped your project and you forgot to do that final press. So these two pressing tools I'm going to talk about, this is called a clapper. It's a block of wood, yes. Got a nice little grip to it. It's a small size. I use this when I'm pressing any thick seams, particularly when you're going around a tote bag. What you do is you mist the seam, heat it with your iron, take off your iron, and push this down onto the edge of the tote bag. What that does is it compresses the seam. A lot of times on the top of if you're making a purse or a tote, that top edge, you've got your exterior fabric with batting on it, you've got your interior fabric with interfacing on it, and sometimes you've got seams. If you pieced your blocks, you've got seams all the way around the top edge as well. It gets really bulky. It's very hard to do a nice top stitch press around that edge. This will compress all those seams and flatten them to about half of what they normally are. There is a video on our YouTube channel, also on our Daily Dose page. I talked about pressing tools back a number of months ago. but there's an actual how-to where I actually have the iron out. But that is the clapper. The second thing is a pressing stick. This is, and our lovely sewing basket logo, thanks to Tina's husband Mark, who does these beautiful ones for us, has our logo in them. What this is it is a pressing stick that when you press along this edge, the seams fall away. These were designed as a tailor's tool originally on like men's dress slacks. If you press a side seam of wool pants, you'll actually see the seam allowance on the press, and you don't want that on any pants, let alone very expensive pants. So what this does is, here's my seam. I've sewed these two blocks together, and oh, by the way, I used my trimmer by George to trim all the batting away, and now I'm going to lay that seam on my pressing stick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mist that with my best press, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and I'm going to use my finger to just press it open. Mist it, and then I'm going to come with my little iron, and I'm actually going to run this right along here. And it's going to press and compress that seam without getting any marks or ridges on the rest of my project because it falls down and away. So this gets that center seam super, super flat. This is what, ladies, if you are doing embroidered quilts that you're completing blocks or wall hangings and you wonder why sometimes they look kind of wavy, you try to get your blocks together and they just aren't as smooth as you want, this is what you want. And it's a good tool if somebody's not listening to you.
Or takes your scissors.
Or takes your scissors. There you go. Good point. All right. One of my other products that I like is the Washaway Wonder Tape. I use this for a lot of things. It's a double stick tape. It just peels off. One side is sticky. You stick it on, peel the paper off. I use this when I'm putting zippers in products or into projects. I use it on the back of my embroidery hoop. A lot of times when you're trying to hoop something, that top hoop will move as you're trying to slide the bottom hoop under. If I put this on the back of my top hoop, I can stick it down where I want it. I can slide my other hoop underneath and nothing will shift and move. So this is great stuff for anything. Also works great for basting on different projects. All right. I mentioned the best press and the pressing things. Best press typically comes in this type of a spray bottle. Great product. We use it a lot. Sets your seams beautifully. Gets out wrinkles really, really well. The sprayer is nice. It lets you go to a fine mist. But we found that these new bottles, these have what's called a bladder inside, and they compress. Here you've got space and you'll get more air with it. These, I'm going to spray this right towards Cheryl and not hit the camera. This, when I squeeze this, it keeps coming. This one I have to keep pumping to keep it coming. But when I do this, see how long?
Yep,
Could
you can
see
see
it?
yeah.
Yes, good. These work just great. They're really, really nice if you're moving across a large piece of fabric. They just do a great job of getting a fine mist across everything. And these, they come empty. We actually use Best Press. Best Press, we're starting to carry these 32-ounce refills. So you can fill these with this. And these come in 3 different designs. This one is called Iron Maiden. There is one called Color Therapy. And another one that says friends don't let friends go to quilt shops alone or something like that. All of these pictures of everything, colors, descriptions, they're all in the web store, and they're also on the wish list that you'll be filling out. So don't worry if you're like, oh, how am I going to remember that? You're going to see pictures of everything when you go to fill out your wish list. All right. And while I was talking about tote bags, Cheryl mentioned some classes upcoming for next year, or some playing with log cabin blocks. This is a class that's already online, and I linked it to Santa's workshop because it is wonderful. Anybody who has not made a tote bag before, and even if you have and you want to improve your skills, this is step by step. Everything from how do I put the bias tape on my handles, to why are her box corners looking so nice? Why is this top edge so thin when yours don't get that way? hint, hint, clapper. But this is a class online you can set up in your sewing room. I'm going to just say, if you had a little guy that looked like this, you could take your camera, or your phone, excuse me, and set it right next to your sewing table and watch the video and pause anytime you want to. We'll talk about him in a little bit. And oh, by the way, his hair is a screen cleaner too. But this class is online. It's $19.99. It is our Mix 6 tote pattern. The pattern is normally $7.99 on its own. It is free and included in the class. So it's a great thing if we're stuck at home for the next number of months again. These are great projects to make as gifts. Carrie, if you look a little back further on our Facebook page, we posted, Carrie did 2 different totes, really cute, with some bright colored dots in red and bright colors. She did them as a wedding gift, and what she was going to do is give grocery cards along with the tote bags. So you've got a lasting gift and then something that's very practical as well. So these tote bags are great. This is called the Mix 6 Tote Kit. Excuse me, kit, class. And the other class that we have is our Northwoods. This is the quilt. This is an applique quilt. And it is made and designed for a beginner. Again, it's a $19.99 class. The pattern is included in the class. But it is everything from how do I pick a project, how do I stabilize, how do I stitch, what do I do? It's a total beginner class if you've never appliqued before, but there's enough meat in there that if you are an appliquer and you just want to improve your skills, you'll learn all kinds of things in that class. So that is, we encourage everybody to say, oh, when our class is going to start, when our class is going to start. We know that you want to hang out with your friends. Right now we just can't do that. This gives you a chance to have a class, have us in your sewing room, take the class, make it, pause anytime you need it, finish your project, and then share your projects into our Sewing Basket quilting group page. And that's where we'll be showing things back and forth, so it's fun. You can see what everybody else made. Challenge a friend. If you both take the class, I bet I can finish that tote bag before you, or mine's going to be cuter than yours. Play with that a little bit, but there are classes available to you if you want them virtually. Okay, enough about classes. Next, I'm going to talk about another favorite product. This is the Fussy Cut Ruler Set. These rulers are designed for fussy cutting, hence their name, right? These have an X marked in the center and a 1/4 inch mark around the outside. They come from 2 inches up to 6 inches on the whole set. And the way that these are made is, if I am putting something into Cheryl's house and I know it's a 4-inch square, I can pick my 4-inch ruler and I can say, I want this little bear right in the middle of that block. I put the middle of the bear on the middle of the X. And I center him right in there and I trim around. So it shows me just what he's going to look like. If I want him off center, I can move it around to be wherever I want. If I want to see how small of a square can I put him in, he actually fits in the 3-inch square and you'd have him dead center. I can also twist the ruler. If I want him to be right side up, they're tossed on the fabric, I can cut it this way and then my bear is going to be standing straight up rather than cockeyed the angle that he is on the fabric. So these are really fun when you are wanting to fussy cut or pick a very specific spot on the fabric that you want in your quilt. All right. Next thing I'm going to take a minute to talk about, this is a big one. These are brand new, and this is a light box. It's a light box and then some. So this is, it's very flat and it's very light. It's got it's probably about a 1/4 inch thick. Very, very fine. It has 3 settings, light, medium, and really bright. And it's a tracing box, light box. So I can if I'm gonna be working on my trees over there, I can take my tree pattern, oh, and I should have picked one that isn't a two-sided pattern, but you can see all of it coming through. I'm gonna trace onto freezer paper, which is a method that we do for applique. I lay this right over the top, and I can very easily see those lines to trace my pattern. And that's really a neat trace, but I can see them clear as can be, very easy to trace. The other thing that it has is a cutting mat that goes over the top. It's actually a rotary cutting mat, but it allows me to see through. So when I'm doing things like paper piecing, I can actually see that seam underneath. So it's a great, great tool. The cutting mat is 11.5 by just over 16. And it sits right on top of the the light box. So that is a neat new product. I'm going to show you for just a minute a few of my favorite scissors. Now that I traced that tree, we're going to pretend I traced this one. When I use freezer paper, this is just Reynolds freezer paper like you get at the grocery store or at Fleet Farm. I've traced it, the top of my tree. I'm going to take this and I'm going to take my small iron and I'm going to iron it on. And it actually sticks. The shiny side of the freezer paper will stick to the fabric. My iron wasn't turned on, that's why it's not sticking. But had my iron been on, it would stick just like this. So I've got my green tree fabric with my freezer paper on top. I'm then going to talk about my other favorite products, which are a whole bunch of scissors. These are 3 scissors by Karen K. Buckley. The purple is the large one, the blue is the medium, and the little teeny tiny green one has super fine points. The thing I like about these scissors is that the blades are serrated. And what that means is, you know, sometimes when you go to cut things, even snipping a thread, it'll move, you try to cut it and it kind of slides out of the way. That's because the blade is smooth. These have tiny little serrations in them so that this doesn't slip when I go to cut. It holds really nice right where I'm at. And it is super sharp, and the fine points make it really easy to cut into small places. So now I have my freezer paper on top, and the back of my fabric is on the back of the tree. So these 3 scissors, the purple and the green are on the wish list form. The blue one, I'm sorry, I missed putting it on the form. It is on the website for sale. There's a empty space at the very end of the form that you can add other items. So if you want the blue scissors, you can put it in at the bottom of your wish list item. So those are the scissors that I like. This little guy is a curved snippy. I don't have to put my fingers into anything, and it has a curved blade. This works great when I'm doing applique. This is also the scissors that I always have next to my sewing machine when I'm clipping threads. Just easy to pick up and grab. These work really, really nice. And I'm going to pretend we're going on with our applique project for just a minute and move to a glue product that I really like. This is Roxanne's glue based. It's washable, water soluble glue, comes in different applicators. This one is a dip and dab, kind of like a lipstick dauber. This has a real fine point, and this one has 2 different points, a smaller end and a wider end. This is 100% washable. It comes off as soon as you get things wet, but this is a method of freezer paper on top applique, and all I have to do is I can run just a real fine line. It doesn't have to be perfect, and I don't need a lot of glue, and I'm just going around my edge here, and you can see I don't have a ton of glue on there, right? Just a fine point. I could have also done dot, 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 bunch of dots, and then I put it down and I stick it down, and I will give this just a few minutes. Give it a good push. I'm going to give it a few minutes and talk about something else. It doesn't even need a few minutes, a minute or two. But what this does, holds everything in place. As soon as it's done, and I'm going to say I bet it's pretty posted. It already is. So I just peel the freezer paper off the top, and my tree is in place, and I'm ready to stitch my applique. So that's freezer paper on top. A fun method a lot of people aren't familiar with, but it works beautifully with freezer paper and Roxanne's glue. Another fusible product is 606 spray. This we talk about often. This is like heat and bond in a can. You spray it on the back, it comes out like spray paint. I've sprayed the back of this piece. It just feels a little rough. It's not totally coated solid white, but a light mist over the whole thing. It takes about 30 seconds to dry. This is not sticky at all. Okay, I spray it, then I can take my little scissors, cut out whatever I want, and this will stick when I fuse it down with the heat of my iron. So I can cut out my little bear, and I could put my little bear under my Christmas tree if I wanted to. But this doesn't stick until I iron it. They say it's a permanent bond. Anytime I'm going to do something that needs to be washed, I always sew it down, even if they say it's permanent bond. But what this works great for is things like church banners, or you want to make a quick birthday sign for a party, you want something kind of big and fun. Spray this on and just fuse it into place. You don't have to stitch it. Church banners, a lot of times they'll just vacuum them rather than stitch it down. And if you ever noticed, if you're the sewer in the group, you're the one who always has to make the church banners, and everybody says, oh, you sew, you can do that. Well, now you can say, oh, you know how to iron, so you can help me. Works great. Little tip, I use a spray box. This is just an old shoebox type size box. I put a little bit of old batting inside, and then when I spray my thing, I put it in here and spritz. If I've got bigger blocks, I'll use a bigger box, but a lot of times I'm doing small things. What this does is when you spray, the overspray sticks to the batting. If it's just plain cardboard, it kind of hits and then it bounces back at you and it still stinks a bit. But that spray box with the batting inside will catch the overspray. So it's just a good little tip. Getting down there. Two more little projects. Cheryl showed you the log cabin book and the 25 sewing tips book. This one is called Skinnies. There are, I believe, 8 different projects in here that make all little wall hangings. Cute as can be. That book made these two. Penny, who is new with us, had never appliqued before. This is the first thing that she ever did. I'll say she watched our online applique class, which she said helped her. But this little Kiss the Cook is a really quick, easy one. In our class, we talk about using what I call the lightning stitch. It's a stretch zigzag stitch. It's very forgiving going around curves, so it makes applique a lot more fun than the old-fashioned blanket stitch. One forward, one in, one forward. Very putsy. This is a much faster method and a lot of fun. So this is one of the projects from that book. This is another one. Create, just a cute wall hanging in your sewing room. We do have kits on both of these. Again, those two are, we just put them on this morning. They are on the website, but they're not in the wish list. That's that. And last couple things here. One more fusible product. This is Quilter's Free Fuse. This is a fusible product. It comes out and it shakes out like salt, a little bit finer grain than that. I use this for basting layers together. I also use it for applique, but it's a shaker, shakes on, and is a great fusible bond when I'm fusing batting and fabric together. This little guy is a new, give me the right name, the Hold It Precision Stiletto. Cheryl had this small curved awl. This is similar but a little bigger, a little easier to hold if you have trouble with dexterity like I do. This curved point gets you, same thing she said, you can get down into the machine to hold it without having to be right on top of it. And this side is kind of nice. It's a rubber end, so it doesn't slip and slide, it really grips things. So it's just an easy one to grab as you're feeding things through your machine, and you want to hold that tail so it doesn't flip on you. All right, this is another new product from Quilter Select. This is their pin tin. The pins are really nice. They're strong, they're glass heads so they resist melting, and there's a magnet in the bottom of the tin, which there wasn't in the numbered pin tin. But this is a really nice little tin. The pins are nice and sharp. They're, I think, either inch or inch and a quarter. That's one of my favorite lengths. I sometimes find that the quilting pins are longer than I want for a lot of my projects, and these are a little shorter and really nice and strong. Since we're on the applique subject, this is a bobbin saver, holds your bobbins, filled with pre-wound bobbin thread. Bobbin thread is thinner than regular thread. It's made to go in your bobbin. The nice thing about it is because it's thin, it wraps a ton of thread on the bobbin, so you don't have to rewind your bobbins as often. And it's very fine, so it works for if I'm wanting to applique and I want my stitches to hide. I can actually use bobbin thread on the top and bottom, both, and it will give me a really fine stitch and hide my stitches well. It works nicely if you're new and you don't want to see your stitches. If you are wanting to see it, then go for variegated thread and thick and let it be seen, but sometimes you want to hide your stitches. These are also great for miniature piecing. That finer thread makes the seam allowance flip over a little more. It doesn't shrink up your block quite as much as a thicker thread. And they're nice if you're going to a class and you're not sure what colors to take. I can toss this in my basket or my trivet, like Cheryl showed you. Take this to class. I can actually put a bobbin on the top of my machine and have any other color in the bottom. So it gives me a chance to have a variety of 20 colors with me at a class. You've heard me go on and on about cleaning your machine, clean your bobbin case. Tomorrow when you start to sew, remember Elaine said clean your bobbin case. Take your bobbin case out. These little tools are great. People sometimes try to use Q-tips. Q-tips, there's all kinds of little things inside the machine that can catch the Q-tip and leave fuzz down in your machine. These don't do that. They've got a little attached, I want to say fuzz, but it's not. It's
almost like a Velcro.
almost like a Velcro, real soft. They go in, they grab and will pull out any fuzz in your machine. The little brushes that come with the machines, they're nylon, and you find sometimes when you use those brushes, they just sort of push the fuzz around. These actually grab the fuzz and you get a giant pack for $5. They last a long time, but these work really nice for cleaning your machine. This is Cheryl and my kind of joke. We have a standing joke of, does no one know how to measure a quilt? When you come in to get your quilt backs, it's really nice. It makes it a lot quicker for us if you know the measurements, especially if we're busy. You don't have to wait to have somebody, wait for 3 people in front of you to get their quilts measured. Everybody should have a 120-inch tape measure in their sewing room. You want to know, people come in and say, oh, it's just queen size. Queen size tells us nothing. How far is the drop? How big is the mattress? Do you have a pillow tuck? How big is your quilt? So you'll also save a bit of money if you measure your quilt, because if you come in and say queen size, we say a queen can be between 79, 80 inches up to 96. That's a big difference in fabric. If you don't have your quilt with you and you haven't measured it, you're going to end up having to get more, or you're going to go home and be short on what you need. So a tape measure is a good thing to have. Last 2 things, these are not on the list. This is the wool pressing mat. These are great. You've heard about them for the last year or so. They come in all different sizes. These actually, when you're pressing your seams, the seams sink into the wool, and the steam from the iron, the heat from the iron, kind of bounces back out of the wool. So it's almost like you're pressing both sides at once. So it makes the press really fast and a really nice crisp press on things. And then this one last thing for the embroiderers. This is freestanding lace applique. The little angel's wings are separate pieces. there are little loop and knobs that get pulled through to hold her together, and it's hard to get those tiny little rivet holes open. This is a new punch by OESD, and it has 5 different tips on it that fit the different sizes of freestanding lace. Those are things like the buildings that you make, or you'll see pumpkins at Halloween time. So this is a new punch that they came out with late this year. Works beautifully if you do freestanding lace. So again, this is something just to write at the bottom of the list if you need that. So, oh, okay, one other thing we forgot. This is our chair. I'm gonna lift it up. It is a hydraulic chair, this way.
There we go.
It is a hydraulic chair that has
set it down.
5 wheels on it, and it has, ta-da, under-seat storage. And we're showing you the white one because this is the one that we have put together. This one is on back order until about the 20th of December. It looks like the back is a little short. When you sit on here, it is designed to be used at your sewing machine. It goes right across your mid-back and supports when you're sitting at your machine. It is not a reclining chair where you should be resting back. This is the right posture for when you are sewing. And it comes in a couple different colors. As I said, the white is not available until, it wouldn't be here by Christmas. But we do have the one with the big buttons, and we do have the black background notions on the chair. And they wheel really nice, and they are hydraulic. I believe they go up to 22 or 24 inches, but they get you a really nice rise. And those are available in the shop. All right, so now we're down to the end. This is our basket buddy. He is our little phone holder. Holds your phone. He will hold an iPad. He's great to set by your machine while you're watching us on video, or next to your coffee cup if you join us for morning coffee and you watch our videos at that time. And his hair, as I mentioned, is a screen cleaner. Anybody who fills out a wish list will get one of these little guys. We'll get one to you, whether it's a pickup in the store, we'll get one in one of your orders to you. But everybody gets a little sewing basket buddy. He is also a stress reliever. So when you have problem with the microphone and there's an issue and you have high stress, you can just beat on that little guy and he'll make you feel better. So those will be coming to you in your wish list. So where we go from here, thank you so much for joining us. What you need to do is a couple things. Go to our sewingbasket.biz page called Santa. It's across the top, just click on Santa. You can also get there direct, sewingbasket.biz/Santa will take you right there. Tomorrow morning, this whole video will be up. There is a link to print off a paper list of what we talked about tonight. There is a link to find the shopping cart. And then midway down, you're going to see high tech or old school. High tech is, I want to fill out my wish list online. There's a picture of Santa holding an iPad. Click the blue button next to him that says sign up online. You'll pop that form open. It will ask for your name, your address, and phone number, the details we need in order to fill your orders. And then just follow through the form, click next. You'll see all of the products that Cheryl talked about with little pictures and price tags of everything, as well as everything that I talked about. Again, pictures and price tags. And at the very end, there's a question that's going to say, name and address of who you would like us to send your wish list to. Usually it's kids, family, husbands, that kind of thing. We need the whole address. Name, street address, city, state, and zip code. Last year we had all kinds of people fill it out without zip codes. Please give us the entire address. What that happens then is we actually send them a physical hard mail letter. They get a red envelope in the mail. In there, they get a letter that says, Santa's been busy, asked the sewing basket to help. These are the wish list items that you've asked for. That, along with a coupon for 15% off anything that they purchase, and they get that mailed to them. The coupon that's in there, they can either use in the store if they're local, or it is also an online coupon for their internet order. If you pick up in the store, you have a choice at checkout to say pick up in store. You will not be charged shipping. If you are not nearby, shipping is $5.99. If it's over $100, if your order is over $100, shipping is free. So what happens sometimes is we have some folks where they have kids that live further away that aren't near them. They will have one child make the purchases, have it all shipped to that child, and then they'll split. The other thing that happens is we have a lot of ladies here who have kids all over the country. Their kids want to get them something that they like, but why do we ship it to California for them to mail it to mom in Plymouth or Sheboygan? What we do is they can check, do it in store. We will wrap the gifts, and so you'll get a note. We'll let them know you can just come to the store, pick it up, and we will give you your gifts already wrapped, so you won't know what's in there until you open them on Christmas morning. So you're going to go online, fill out that form. If you are old school and you much prefer to have paper, we're okay with that. You want to go to the area that says old school. There are two forms there. One is your wish list. You're going to sit down and you're going to write the list of the things that you want on that list. The second form is the names and addresses. Your name and address with zip code, and the names and address of who you'd like the coupon and your list sent to. Those two forms you can either mail back to us through hard mail, or you can drop them off here at the store. So that's what you need to do. We get the lists out. The lists need to be to us by next Wednesday, which is the 18th. We get your lists. We need to get those lists written out and the coupons sent in the mail to your family members or whoever you want those lists to go to. So we need to get your lists by next week, and we'll send them out. I will say it's fun for us. We love to meet all your family members. It is just adorable to see your grandkids come in. They'll look at, oh, see these 3 scissors? Grandma needs the purple one. They don't care that the purple one's bigger and the green one's littler. They like to pick by color, and it's fun to see what they choose. Husbands love it. They walk in, you can see the envelope, and we smile and say, you here for Santa's list? And they're like, yeah, just give me this stuff. And we help them pull it together and get everything done for them pretty quickly. They love to be able to get you something that they know that you'll like, and they don't have to worry about size or what store do I go to, what do I do. They're glad to come in and have some help. We really appreciate you hanging with us this long. This is our 5th year for Santa's Workshop. It's worked out well for us, and we've heard great response from you and family members that you really enjoy it. Thanks for playing. If you have questions, you can call the shop, email the shop, fill out your forms. I think that's about it. Anything else?
I don't think so. I think it's a wrap.
All right, and this video will be up on the website on the Santa page tomorrow, just in case it was so wonderful you need to see it again. Or if you have friends that missed it or don't do Facebook, they can see it on our website on the Santa page. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.